today's episode of the KBC Hoops podcast, we've got Mr. Coast to Coast himself, Deron Breeze. We're going to dive into the world of second and third grade basketball scouting. We're also going to talk about other travel team and AAU basketball stories. And lastly, we're going to talk about what's next for Coast to Coast Preps. You'll hear it first on the KBC Hoops podcast. Another episode of the KBC Hoops podcast. Another episode of the KBC Hoops podcast. Marcellus Barksdale, co-host Tom Bauer. Also got Julius King. And today we've got the man behind Coast to Coast Preps basketball, Mr. Deron Breeze. Thanks so much for joining the show. For listeners unfamiliar, Coast to Coast Preps on Instagram, Coast 2, the number 2, Coast Preps. Currently 63,000 followers on Instagram. One of the biggest scouting services for elementary through middle school. We look at this, man. How did you get your start into just basketball, AAU basketball in general?
In AAU basketball?
Yep.
You know, my father, I'm from Mason County originally. So
what?
Back in the,
Hold up. Scratch the record. Scratch the record again, man. We tried to tell you guys. I think every single episode that we've got a Maysville lineage direct line, and again,
when King
Cousins
told me
ridiculous,
that Breeze
man.
grew up in, because I've known Breeze longer than I've known King.
Yeah.
And Breeze is like, oh yeah, he's in Maysville too. I just,
yeah.
I said, man, everybody.
So when my dad, he coached. You know, AAU was different. It's probably the '90s, early '90s. It's a little different. You know, you had your AAU state tournament, but it was a lot of school teams. But then you had teams. Charlie Gibbons had. I remember Darnell Burton.
Shout out to Mr. Charlie real quick. We gotta get him on the show, man.
Salvation Army. They had I remember they had a guard named Erasto Hatchett. So anyway, he used to always go to them state tournaments, and my dad, he wouldn't always take just all Mason County kids. He'd have some 10th region kids like Jerry Fogel and so forth.
Alvin
I don't think Alvin ever played for him.
I think Alvin played with that
Did he?
Yeah, one time.
But he never won it. He got beaten Final Four a couple times. Louisville Valley had a good team. Louisville Eastern one year.
Do you mind if I set something up real quick with just for a little context on what you're talking about? Back then, like now, we'll do our AAU high school state tournament, which is not AAU. We call it the KBC championship, our version of it.
Right.
But we'll have 22 to 26 teams per division.
Right.
Back then, like I played 1 year in 2000, because AAU wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But there were only 4 teams in the whole thing.
Right.
But it was nothing but the best players in the state. Like it was loaded. Every team was just absolutely loaded. And I think Salvation Army, they drug us. But the landscape was a little different, where it wasn't that much watered down with teams. It was big time.
See, when my dad coached in the '90s, I mean there was 70, 80 teams.
Really?
It would be at Frankfurt, but by the time I got to playing AAU, it switched to, like you're saying, they'd have the all-star division, the school division. With your all-star division, you'd have 3, 4, 5, 6 teams.
Yeah.
And it got way down. There was 2 brothers. I can't remember their names that used to run it back in the day. They were twins. I can't remember their names. They ran back in the '90s. But anyway, that's how I got into it. And playing high school basketball, I was Mason County through middle school, Harrison County through middle school, and my dad got a coaching job down in the south central part of the state, so I moved down there, played high school basketball there. I'm 5'8", 5'9", so I got the most out of my ability. I thought, I got a college scholarship back to Mason County. Sean Myrick, who played at Cincinnati, he went to North Idaho Junior College, so he had the same coach, so I kind of went out there and played out there. Then, you go out there, you kind of see the world of basketball for, so then, just be honest, I was lucky. I got it. Well, my son, he was born in '05, so when he was coming up, I was like, man, I got to finish college. So, started going to Western. Luckily there, Coach Horn was there, '06 to '08, and I got to help with Western's team. And,
Chase Creek in the building.
That's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's our guy. Coach Horn's our guy. Yep.
And, obviously he left and went to South Carolina. I could have probably went down there with him. We talked about it. But at that time, I had both my boys were born then, because we went to the Great Alaska Shootout. That was 2 weeks before my little one was born. And so after that, coached high school 1 year, then AAU. You see NBA's team sponsored. Talked to Courtney Lee because he played then about sponsoring, but it didn't work out. But ended up just wanted to get in AAU and kind of picked one grade in Kentucky that wasn't nobody focusing a lot on, and wanted to do it different. Didn't want to charge all the money. So we didn't ever charge a dime for it. Me and I had a buddy from Greene County. We kind of, because he used to coach Justin Powell and all them when they were little, and so we kind of just raised the money ourselves and funded it ourselves, and we had a pretty good team that year, and then Beyonce kind of took off from there.
So it's cool because all of our stories kind of intersect, and we're all living our lives separate. But that first team, the Derby City team, 7th grade group. Was that the first group you're talking about?
Yeah, they were 8th grade, I believe, going into their freshman.
Okay.
That summer, yeah. But I had, it's kind of. As I was saying, my dad, he never won the state, but I won 2 of them.
Oh, yeah.
back to back.
I still got pictures. I love those teams, man.
The first year I had it, I was actually looking weird the other day, getting into the coast to coast in a minute, but that team we had, Cole Von Handorf, Kel Stotts, Peyton Broughton, Jalen Seabury, Trace Young. So every one of them kids went and played college basketball except one, and that's Chance Melton, and he could have, but he was the best one at that age, too. But then the next year.
But he was a football player, too. I mean,
correct.
Very, very good football player.
But then the next year, we won the state that's when I was under the We All Can Go name. And I was looking at the picture the other day. I think we had 9 kids on the team. Only 3 of them even played high school basketball.
Huh.
Wow.
Sean Kell Knight Golf that played football at UK.
Yeah.
I don't think he played his senior year. There was a handful of them that didn't even play high school basketball. So kind of goes both ways.
Yeah.
And we get into that and just understanding your roots in basketball again, Maysville, gumming up through everything, getting into coaching side, giving back to kids through AAU basketball. What kind of clicked in your mind and what gave you that ultimate decision to go through and begin coast-to-coast preps? What were the origins? What did those origins look like?
Like I said, I got lucky after I coached Derby State the first year, and we had a good team. We won the state. We did well at nationals. I don't remember what we ended up finished. We thought we could have got to the championship game, but we playing Jared Vanderbilt's team. We was up 15 with 3 minutes to go, and ended up they tied it and took us to overtime. Yeah, it was.
Blame the coach.
And so we got on the wrong side of the bracket. Anyway, we had a good team. So the next year, I think we actually had 2 teams that year, but I didn't coach the one. We just kind of let them wear our uniforms. They had Michael Moreno, Corbin Spencer.
Oh, yeah.
That group.
Yeah.
And so we was going to get another team together, and I called We All Can Go at their tournament in Nashville. And, he called me back. And, if y'all know Carlos.
That's our boy.
He's from Kentucky, and he said, I've been trying to do something out of Kentucky, So it just kind of hooked up from there. And anyway, so we did a year, and he's always wanted to start a ranking site. And because back then you used to have Phenom America, B-Ball, Spotlight, and so forth for little kids, and he wanted to start one. And, all them sites usually went to middle school down.
Yeah.
But we just kind of, I think we even started 5th, 6th grade and up. And then, just kind of over the years it's went down. But, the idea of it was Carlos to definitely do it. He said something about it 2 or 3 times, and I was just like, I can kind of run a website and write.
Yeah.
So, because, that was kind of, when I was at Western Kentucky, my first, when I first enrolled there, I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't really want to be a teacher, what my dad was. And, Western's pretty good at broadcasting and journalism, so I kind of had an interest in that. So, I've always liked to write about sports and so forth. So it kind of just went from there.
I got you. And again, we touched on it again, and just listening to him speak, you're thinking of it. Sounds like no big deal, no huge thing. But again, coast to coast prep, 63,000 currently on Instagram, probably grow to 65, close to 70 by the time this episode releases. But
Twitter had about 20,000.
Yeah,
and that was 15 months ago. But you post I just always post highlight videos or something. I'll watch them, and the music, I guess it was copyright.
Yeah.
And I can't. And they took it down and said that my account was suspended. And I can't figure out how to get it back.
Yeah.
I've tried and tried, but they tell me to email the.
You got a new one now, Coach?
No, not yet. I need to. I ain't got one yet, but I'm about to give up on this because I actually tried a couple weeks ago, and they keep telling me to email the owners of the song, and there's no way to do that. So.
So we get with that. And again, rankings from what's the earliest age that you currently have rankings for both teams and players?
Teams go down to second grade. Players in an actual numbered order is fourth grade.
Okay.
And then third grade they have just like a top 5 and then like a watch list.
Okay. And again, we've got you on the show, and we're not gonna dodge any questions.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna put you on the hot seat just for a little bit, and what we want to really try to do is get a better understanding into your perspective on these things. But you get a lot of flack from a lot of people about ranking teams down to as low as second grade. These are 6, 7, 8 years old. Why do you rank?
Hold on. I want to go into some of the things that we see.
Yeah.
Because, full disclosure, if you all don't know yet, like we run coast-to-coast events,
Facts.
with Breeze.
Some of the best events in the country, by the way.
Hands down. Large. The atmosphere in here is crazy. We have, we have a lot of fun those weekends, and the teams have a blast. We have teams that come in from private jets from Texas, California, Wisconsin, Florida, you name it. They come out from
Colorado.
They come from all over the country to come and play in these events, and we partner with Mr. Breeze and Coast to Coast proudly. And so whenever I see people throw shots at him, it's made me think, to make sure that we're doing the right things here. Here's some of the criticisms that we see. The kids are too young and people can't handle it. They don't know how to deal with it. How can you possibly evaluate third graders? What's the point? It's pointless. What are some of the other ones, King? Like venom, and actually, there's never any facts to back it up. We'll get into that in just a minute. But people's opinions, and I think it's Julius and I have felt this a lot through our time, is that there is a certain establishment, we could probably say, or let's just say people that have been doing it the same way for so many years that they seem closed off to innovation.
Right.
And so, because they've had a stranglehold on it for so long. And so when innovation comes out or when something new comes out, their first instincts in the conversations that I have, in the pushback and the back and forth that I have, their first instinct is to be closed-minded about it and immediately cast it away because, one, they didn't think of the idea. Two, Breeze didn't ask them to be a part of the idea, to give their opinions on kids. And there's just this kind of visceral responses and things that go on that, like Marcella says, we're not going to dodge, but we're going to address them today. And starting with Deron, like, what, hearing these things, what are your responses? Because I know you get them almost every post.
Yeah, I mean, the team responses, I hadn't really, I think they don't really say much about the team rankings outside of just, how's this team ranked below that team, but it ain't really, so why are you ranking them, because, I think the team, at least most of your top teams are playing, if it ain't in a coast-to-coast event, we rank off all the events. It ain't just coast-to-coast, so, I think it's pretty well, you get some people, well, we beat this team, well, when did you beat them? Well, we beat them 2 years ago. I mean, it's not, it's not like that,
Sorry.
but, and when I post the rankings, I'm going to be honest, I don't even, you can look on there, 300 comments. I don't even look at the comments till about 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And then I just use it to really go back and notes. All right, did this team beat this team? Or all right, do I need to research it? Is this kid? Because, a lot of times you find, kids will play different. The grades they're not in.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things in AAU.
Yeah.
So you find that out. But the player rankings, they'll, you hear a lot of it. how do you rank a kid this? Why are you doing it that? And then, a lot of it's just people disagree with it, and, I don't claim to be able to do it all by myself. Like I said, Coach Carlos, he's a lot behind the scenes. I mean, he knows anybody in every gym.
Right.
You got that right.
And then I got different people, California, there's different coaches that host big events or your big event coordinators like ACES, Grassroots 365. There's a guy in Miami, he's between Miami and Houston. He hosts a lot of events. The Junior Phenom, they always put on top events. So you just kind of look at the write-ups. Spencer Pulliam's been doing a lot of stuff here lately too. He's coming back on. So you just kind of look at everything there. If you just rank based off your events, I think it kind of it's not going to be realistic. And even then, it's not realistic. Who's to say anybody? I mean, it's just like you look in the NBA. You don't have the number one player every time. You don't know who's number one, who's not. But it's just somebody's opinion. Who's did this or who's did that. And I just think. I think it's. It wasn't when we first started. It wasn't set out to. Let's ranked second graders, but it just kind of all right. We start with this grade. Well, we're going down another
it
grade. Let's go
evolved.
down another grade.
Yeah.
Let's go down another grade, and then
Yeah,
it just kind of evolved from there.
So, King, I want to say something real quick, and then you had some really good thoughts on all this stuff as well. But in regards to ranking kids that are that young, all right, there's.
I mean, a lot of you ask why I do it. Some of it, a lot of it is just I like to see the people's reactions.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just fun to see.
But that's the whole point of this, is that it's meant to be fun. And some of the things that we hear in regards to, they can't handle it, they can't do this. I will tell you that before Coast to Coast existed, there was fourth graders all over the country that were dominating in their tournaments and in their era and in their area that got a big head. The parents got a big head, and the kid stopped working, or the kid had a bad attitude. People act as though this is something new, and this is always these are things that have always been. The things like Coast to Coast rankings, or any rankings to be met. I mean, even to the ones that people respect all the way the most, none of them matter.
No,
I mean, tell the rankings to Kawhi Leonard, tell the rankings to C.J.
That's
McCollum, tell the rankings to countless other guys right now.
That's what I'll see. The Facebook threads, you've suggested for me. I get, they're always talking. Well, rankings don't matter to ESPN's rankings in high school. And I mean, like you said, I mean, in reality, the ESPN rankings don't matter either. I mean, that don't
That's
matter.
right.
It don't. None of it really matters. I mean, the college isn't recruiting just based off. Oh, ESPN's got him ranked this. To me, it's almost more. I'm a big Miami Hurricanes football fan. Well, they might recruit a kid that don't nobody know about, or Alabama. Well, when they get an offer from Miami or Alabama, now all of a sudden they're 3 or 4 star.
Yeah.
That's what. So you can say that about ESPN or any of them. They're ranking the kids. Oh, when they get these offers, now they jump up. It's like I was kind of looking at the list. One kid I never seen as a little kid, so he's never been on. He's ranked number 2 now from Minnesota, Chet.
Oh yeah, Chet Holmgren. Oh
so I
my
mean,
gosh.
he came out of nowhere. Somebody
where was
liked
he
him.
ranked?
Yeah, and somebody liked him. He started getting offers when he blew up to the top of the rankings. I've never seen him as a little kid or anything. So I don't know how good he is. I think he plays Under Armour now. So I've never even really seen him on the high school level on the Under Armour scene. So it just
King, what about these responses we hear? This is supposed to be fun, right? Like, we can't help it if a kid sees his name, or a parent sees their name written on a piece of paper and decides to change the course of their life and get arrogant and stop working because they saw it on a piece of paper, right?
Well, and what I've seen is it's not the kids.
Yeah.
The kids, they like to see the name on there, and then this kid, he's ranked this, he's ranked that. It's the parents the parents that post the videos online. My kid's doing this. Like, I've seen I don't know how many videos during the quarantine. What's your kid doing there in the quarantine? This is what we're doing.
Grinding, we
getting
getting
it in. Yeah, and all that. And it's like, the kids like it. I think, I've never had a kid send a message, maybe 2 or 3, but not very many. I've never had a kid be disrespectful and say, oh, this, that, and the other. It's the parents now, they get mad. They're mad. But the kids, I mean, they take it as a challenge almost. And it, to me, like you said, it's, there's other ranking sites out there, but I hear it all the time, people waiting on the Coast to Coast because that's the real rankings or whatever. And, I take it as a compliment. I'm not saying it is or isn't. Somebody's might be more accurate on certain classes or whatnot, but the kids like to see who they're going against, who the top team is, who the top player is. It gives them something to shoot for.
It's fun.
Yeah. What cracks me up is I'm affiliated with you, and now Tom is too. 'Cause, we started doing things before, we created the KBC.
Right.
But they see me regardless of where I'm at. Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio especially.
Mm-hmm.
Coast to coast. Why you didn't rank my son? I'm over here like,
Yeah.
How many people, Marcellus, come up and said, "Are you Breeze?"
Come on, man.
Are you Breeze?
Listen.
At the tournament.
Running these events, man, I think that I've morphed into the face of Coast to Coast Preps to the point to where this is beef from 3 years ago. You know what I mean? It's just walking to my door. It's like, Breeze, the rankings is this and that. Man, we beat this team down in Maryland, this and that. I'm like,
meanwhile, we're looking up like, where's Breeze? Where's Breeze? Breeze is always perfect.
It's like, got his iPad in the corner.
Hey, it was, I think, true story, they was, Coast to Coast, I don't remember. It was first camp maybe, and then the second year, first time we started doing rankings, and we was at the EYBL I guess it was last year in Indianapolis, right? And I asked Larry Hughes to take a picture with my son, and he did. But after that, boy, he was telling, I can't remember what he was talking about, but he was talking about something in 7th grade when his son, which his son's a sophomore now, talking about 7th grade at a camp in Nashville.
Yeah.
After that. Like, so,
I love it.
You know what? But I tell you, Coach and Tom, let me squeeze in right here real quick. You know, we had a conversation the other day, and to me, this is all just the rankings. To me, symbolize potential. Where this kid is at in the 5th grade, and where he could be come when he graduates from college, or if he's a one and done, or whatever. And you know, to beat up on us, you know, because we're not gonna get away from it. They categorizing us as coast to coast. You know, I think that's kind of silly, you know. But it's all about the potential, and with that potential comes a whole lot of things. Number one, it's a whole lot of players that could possibly and have lived up to that potential. But a lot of things come into play, and such as injuries.
Yeah.
You know, such as if you get that ranking, mom and dad, how are you, you know, preparing your son, and how are you working on his mentality to be a successful player? Are you letting that blow his head up?
right.
Is your head get blowed up, or are you staying the course and grinding it out? So this is not something that is malicious and is, you know, just for us to make money or just for us to do.
You talk about the money thing. I mean, you know, we talked about money. You could make, and that's one thing I've learned about it is, you know, all right, it's kind of both ways. All right, we rank the players, we rank the teams. All right, well, we want you to go to an event, man. You better cut them a deal. You better help them get here. So, you know, the money ain't, you know, it ain't like doing it all for the money.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do, and I don't know what he makes or not, but, you know, one of the best people in ranking stuff who got the best idea at a young age was probably Rob Taylor.
Yeah.
Buckeye Prep. If you do something more
way back
regional,
in the day.
Shout out to Rob.
Shout out to Rob,
So-
Stevie Taylor.
so you do more regional, you got, you know, you ain't got kids traveling, like you said, Maryland, California. All the families can't come. So you're going to make a lot more money on an event like that. And, you know, I think Rob might rank like, you know, these are the top 10, like bold their name, and these are the other on the watch list. You know, but the rankings have been around a long time, and I kind of look at, and there's different ranking sites that pop up, and, you know, but it seems like they just don't stay consistent. Really, Coast to Coast has been around, 5-6 years now, and I think the other one's pretty consistent is B-Ball Spotlight.
Yeah.
Seems like
Milton.
you know, but he does his on the East Coast.
Yeah.
He don't really try to, if you didn't play in his event, which he, you know, he says it's based on the events we've seen, you know, players we've seen, you know, he kind of stays consistent with it. And be honest, you know, it's like anything else you hear, you know, I just kind of ignore the negative stuff and just kind of look at it and go with it. Now, you know, and I will research it. If they say team did this or a player here you need to look at, you know, pretty much if you tell me about a player or something, you know, I do look at it and research it, and I'll ask around and so forth. And so, you know, like I say, that's why sometimes it takes so long for rankings to come out, especially when your player rankings, because it ain't ever going to be perfect, but you try to get it as close as you can. But you were saying it comes down to the parents. One thing I was thinking about, so you know, 5th grade, for example. All right. Normal 5th grader is 11 years old, I think. You know, my son's 12, 5th, but still. So you got two ways to look at it. You might have a 5th grader whose parent is all about development, and he's playing up 7th and 8th grade. Well, you don't even know he's in 5th grade. They don't worry about it. The kid I can think of is in Nevada named DJ Thomas. His dad used to play for UNLV. He plays up. I mean, he's one of the top players with West Coast Elite, but still, you don't hear his dad, oh, my kid should be this, that, and the other. Of course, he's in 8th grade now. But then you got another kid who might be 12. All right, he was top 5 in 5th grade last year. Now he's 50 in 6th grade. Oh, he's going to reclass back because that parent, he's starting to get caught. So now, you know, they're all about holding on to that ranking for a long period of time. And, you know, it's just, I mean, you know, if you didn't put a number by it. But, I mean, like I said, that's what makes it fun. I think it's more interesting to see, you know, when I rank a kid, when we rank them in 4th or 5th grade and you put that number by them, it ain't so much, oh, this is who's going to be when they're in high school. No, it's what they're based on right now.
Yeah,
I think it's more interesting to see almost, all right, how many kids on this list are not on the list in 10 years.
Yeah.
It's almost more of an experiment rather than saying, oh, these are the top kids when they're in college.
Yeah.
That's not what we're saying at all.
Right.
They are now.
That's
it's
a
like
big key.
Chance. When are we talking about Chance Melton?
Yeah.
And who was it? Future 150, I think that's what they was called.
They had him.
I mean, they had him top 15.
High.
There wasn't a better for a 6th grade basketball player in Kentucky. There's not very many. It's been better than him, but he was 6'3", 6'4" in 6th grade. He graduated 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, I seen him dominate the Nike Memorial Day tournament down there with MJ Walker and all them cats in it. And I mean, I was coaching it. I mean, he dominated the tournament. So, you know, it's just, I think it's more interesting to see, you know, who your top kids are now and how they pan out. But again, that comes back to working, you know, going to Zion Harmon. I mean, he was number one in 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade because he kept, he knew he was, but he kept working
His
too.
work ethic, yeah.
He could have let up, but he kept working.
And just as an event perspective, which, you know, again, we run countless events, but I will say that the coast-to-coast events bring out that different side of everything, but it's because it really does mean something.
Matters.
And when you look at the McDonald's All-American game, you look at the NBA, you look at March Madness, you look at the draft board, whatever it is, bringing those rankings allows people to have some type of reference point to where they stand amongst their peers.
Yeah.
Everybody's got something to work for. Everybody got something to lose as well. And we see it all the time. And people ask, you know, why are you or how are you ranking these 3rd graders, these 2nd graders? You know, they're too young or whatever it is. But you come out to an atmosphere, and I promise you that some of these atmospheres that we've been blessed to create are some of the best basketball atmospheres that you'll catch anywhere across any level of basketball.
And I reference that, you know, I coach high school too. For those that don't know, I'm a Dare County coach. And what you're saying, well, you know, as I said, I went to Dare County. I'll talk about that one group I have. You know, we were ranked top 6, 7 in the state a couple years ago, 32-2. Well, I had a core group of seniors that before I got them at Derby State, they played under Kentucky Elite.
Mm-hmm.
But what you just said, well, I mean, them kids can go play in the 5th region against John Hardner E-Town because there ain't been a gym in Memphis to New Orleans, Indianapolis that they wasn't packed in and playing in those type of atmospheres. Right. And, you know, that just carries over, especially for a Kentucky kids and Kentucky teams. You know, if you get out there and experience it, you know, what they're playing in Washington, D.C. every weekend.
Yes.
You know, you come back here and play, it makes it a whole lot big difference.
We were joking about a kid, who's the young guard from Texas
United.
That hit that
LaCour,
crossover
yeah.
step back.
LaCour.
Okay, all right. So this kid's in 3rd grade, correct?
4th.
Okay, 4th grade. He's at 4th grade. And in the game, and this highlights on KBC, Coast to Coast put it out as well, but the kid with 2 seconds left, it was almost a buzzer beater shot. His team is down, and he crosses up his man, does a sidestep, and shoots a 3 and drains it. And frankly, in an open gym with nobody around, that's an advanced shot for even a college player to hit. Exactly. That's not an easy shot. And this young man is in 4th grade doing that. And so I think the other part is that until you're exposed to this, how good a 3rd grader could be, because it seems really weird, right?
Yeah.
That seems super weird. But the things that we've been able to see, it actually changes your perspective on how things are.
And the most impressive thing to me about that, like I said, you can go back on the Coast to Coast, KBC, on the app and watch it. But the most impressive thing about me to that whole scenario, I think those were number 1 and number 2.
They were.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
But
on court 1,
they, like you said, there wasn't no seats. It was standing room.
Standing room.
But he had the ball, and he dribbled the clock down from a minute with the whole crowd. I mean, he kept driving, retreat, reset the count.
Yeah.
He kept resetting the count. I mean, for a kid to gain that kind of experience, all right, so, you know, state tournaments on the line in 5 years, 6 years from now, I've done been in that.
He's been there.
You know, he's done been in it. So it's you can't hide them. You know, you got to just get out there and play. And, you know, if you don't want your kid to be ranked, your team to be ranked, then it's like you said the other day, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not all the time. But and not all kids are ready for that. You know, there's some kids that's in 3rd grade that hadn't developed yet, but by the time he's in high school, he's the best player there is. You know, not everybody's ready for it, and everybody progresses different, and some are ready in 5th grade, and by the time they're 10th grade, they're not ready for what's out there in 10th grade.
So we talk about those special moments that these kids are able to experience at a super early age, and just as talent evaluators, a lot of times there's specific things that we can see in a kid as young as 5, 6, 7, 8 years old that kind of can separate him from everybody else to where you know that, man, this kid has a shot, regardless of, necessarily today. Like, yeah, he's a good player today. What are some key things that you've seen throughout the years, and even, the youngest of kids or whatever, what stays constant in being able to separate kids from one another?
Fundamentals,
Mm-hmm.
I think, because, I was even talking about, a couple kids last year that are, they're ranked up there right now, but I always say, I don't know how good they're going to be when they get older. 'Cause one of the best, you can be a really good player second, third, fourth grade just by being more aggressive and stronger. There might be a kid's real skill, but if you're just aggressive, because everybody presses, well, a kid can't. It's hard to make an accurate pass 60 feet down the court.
Can't do it
there
Yeah.
At that age. So if you're aggressive, you can get up there. So one of the things I look at, even though you might be real good now, but if I'm looking at you long term, like if you wrong feet in front of the other, some of them throw it up there, ball spinning sideways. Because most points in them grades are layups.
Yeah.
But like you said, the core kid, he's got it.
Yeah.
He's got this. I don't know how big he's going to be, what
Well,
level
that's
he's
the
going to
other
play,
thing.
but his skill set, his fundamentals, he definitely, if he sticks with it and wants to keep playing, some of these kids might not even want to play.
Yeah.
And older, but if he wants to play, he'll be able to get a college scholarship
So
because you can tell right now he's a leader on the court.
Mm-hmm.
He's vocal, and a lot of these teams. The thing I like about his team, for example, and they play man to man at that age.
Yes.
And they teach him how to guard and sit down to guard and play man to man defense. So
Well, we see it. I've seen it for years running the. I don't know if anybody's seen more third grade girls basketball games than me. Second grade girl, when you start, it's foreign to a lot of people because they've not been exposed to a ton of fourth grade basketball and third grade basketball. So I don't think a lot of people even know how much of this is even really out there, how serious it is, how hard these teams are working, and that there's teams that just take a lot of pride in trying to compete at the highest level. And so, but we've seen it so many times where, a kid may come in and dominate middle school state tournament, let's say. I've seen this happen multiple times. And like you said, Deron, their sophomore year, they got a lot of potential with basketball, but maybe they've won MVP, their team won the state tournament. By their sophomore year, they've decided, well, I love baseball. And they don't even play basketball anymore.
yeah, and like you said, another thing to look at, one is always, I'm sure college. I know colleges look at it too, especially at a younger age. But how big are the kids' parents? So if you're trying to project kid, how fast is he on the court? How big are his parents? Right, then that's going back to the potential of it. But you better get a good skills trainer. Absolutely. If you're not, then if you're long and athletic, if you get a skills trainer, then that helps. When we rank, it's based on usually what you are that day. It ain't potential because a lot of people got potential, but if they don't have the right skills trainer, they don't take it serious. Then you kind of got egg on your face by saying that. That's why I think it's more interesting to see how good you are now, and who taps out and who keeps getting better, who improves.
And we see it now too. It's kind of one of those things that we talk about having that number 1 and number 2 matchup, Texas United and North Coast Blue Chips.
Correct.
Again, one of the best atmospheres you'll see, but the kind of gets taken that even back as far as understanding key indicators that show how these teams are that good, how these players that developed. Everybody else gets here. Most teams traveling on Friday evening. First game on Saturday morning. They show up on Saturday morning, 15, 20, 30 minutes before the game. They stretch out. They get ready to go. People don't realize these two teams, they're calling, a month before, locking in gym time on Friday night to make sure that the kids can come in, stretch out, eat right, get used to the rims, going over scouting reports.
Yeah.
Understanding the fundamentals of basketball, and they're getting exposed to all this stuff at 8 years old. And these are things that even high school kids, aren't even blessed to understand the details in preparation and the little things. But being able to, again, see that, understand that kids are exposed to these things at such an early age, it just makes it even easier to understand that, okay, well, this kid has a chance.
Yeah.
Right?
I think, just one thing I see a lot of, and, I can't speak 10, 15 years ago. I think it was a little bit different then. But, you got a lot more teams now. But a lot of it is, you got a lot of guys. I'd say on your national level teams, 75 to 80% of them, and that's probably conservative, are, especially your younger kids, like you said, well, it's a guy that's 26, 27 that he's got an 8 or 9-year-old now, so he's coaching them. So they're taking what they learned playing in the SEC, in the Big 12. All right, well, I'm putting my whole heart into this team, and then like you said, they learning to eat right, train right, film study, the correct skill development and stuff, and it's just, I think, you see some stuff that's bad for basketball, some drills and kind of stuff, but I think a lot of it too, though. You see a lot of good stuff, and
I agree.
I don't mean to talk about Texas United again, but I mean that guy that runs
they
the
do
program,
it the right way.
Yeah,
but
shout out to Josh
he
Goodwin.
trains, and
Thoroughly
he trains.
impressed.
One of the biggest guy he trains is the guy from UK that just signed with the Warriors.
Michael Mulder.
Yeah, correct. He trains him. So obviously his kids are getting good training. He trains a lot of guys from the G League that get caught up in the pros. Down in Houston. So
you can tell.
Yeah, and it's just you can tell the teams that are just out there 2-2-1, 1-2-1-1 pressing with the bigger, stronger athletes than the ones that's going to be better in long term, who's getting the right coaching.
Hey, real quick, for the whole panel, nowadays we have a lot of adults, parents, different coaches. High school versus AAU.
What do you want to know?
Just your
differences?
thoughts.
All right, fine.
Just your thoughts.
Okay, the differences, because obviously we all have a foot in each. I am crazy about high school basketball. Absolutely crazy about it. They're actually kind of designed and set up perfectly to work together, because logistically, a high school coach is put a little bit at a disadvantage in regards to helping his kids get recruited based on the competition they're playing against on a nightly basis. So over the course of 25 games or whatnot, if your player is a Division I player, a college coach wants to see him or her participate against other Division I players. And in high school, that's just not the numbers. I mean, only just a small percentage of players even go on to play college at any level. So it's not that high school coaches don't want, their structure is different. Now, conversely, an AAU tournament, over the course of a weekend, you'll have hundreds of college players in the building playing against each other. And so it's easier, more efficient for college coaches to go there. So in the best world, I think everybody's working together. But unfortunately, that's not what it is a lot of the time. So in some cases it is, because there's great people on both sides. But if an AAU coach wants to tell me that high school coaches are selfish and dirty and this and that, I've got some AAU coaches I can talk to them about. When high school coaches want to talk to me about AAU guys, I've got high school guys that I can point to that have done worse. And so for me, it's almost like this power struggle for the kids' attention, and I think that's an absolute great question, because a high school coach is in the middle of their season in January, like the meat of their season, trying to get their teams to prep at the highest level, and yet their kids are getting hit up by AAU teams saying, "Hey, will you announce that you're playing with me? Well, go ahead, put it out there. Yeah. And the next night they're playing, a big district game or whatnot. And so high school coaches get a little kind of miffed by that. But at the same time, so there's just, and then I think we've all seen it where AAU coaches will try to act like they know more than the high school coach. And it's almost like this ego back and forth kind of game that I think is completely unnecessary. Definitely. At the end of the day, frankly, it should be nothing but about the kids. They should work together. I always encourage AAU coaches and especially high school coaches to get to know these guys, because at the end of the day, most of them really are just trying to help the kids, but they want to say that I helped the kids. This was me. AAU, you stay out. See, we can do it without AAU. And it actually turns more into an ego thing on both sides than for the kids. And then the kids are in the middle like, I don't know, I like both you guys. Both of you helped me. But it's just there's a lot of insecurity on both sides.
Yeah. Right. And I know this is a passionate question for a lot of people. That's why I wanted to bring it up. And then today, we got a guy who's been on both sides of that.
Crazy.
With Coach Breeze.
Great.
Anomaly.
The anomaly. And some of the guys are more into it than others. Some of the high school coaches, I think that some of your younger high school coaches today have accepted more of the AAU side. And that some of the, there are quite a few high school coaches that have been around for a while that have done just fine and put players in Division I and in NAI and D3. They've done great without AAU. And so it's really just kind of a headache, and coaches stay busy enough. I mean, it's a life. We'll jump into that one day, but the coach's life is super busy. And on top of that, I got to add where my kids are going to play AAU.
Mm-hmm.
It just can add to a lot of, bad feelings.
No, I mean, I agree. It's the biggest thing you said. I think it's just a lot of people try to take credit for this or that, and it's not. I mean, end of the day, it's the kid. The kid's either good enough or not. They're either putting in the extra work or they're not. I was listening to an interview though yesterday. Talk about a good high school program. Indiana, Mr. Basketball is going to. I guess he's going to Indiana next year. Talking about their summer. Well, he said every day in the summer, their summer, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 9 to 10 every day. They're in the gym lifting. 10 to 11:30 they practice. Well, then they go eat whatever. They come back at 3:30. They either practicing again or they got summer games. So that's a good high school program that's running. And then you got AAU coaches that, again, a lot of them played college basketball. A lot of them got connections to different colleges. So obviously they can help a kid more. When high school, I mean, unless you're at a big school, a lot of your county schools or rural schools, a lot of it's politics. Who knows who on the school board to get a teaching job at this place, and then your coaching and so forth. Now the coaching, I mean, you got good AAU coaches that teach skills, and some are just out there about the wins. Same thing in high school. You got some good coaches that some of your best coaches they might win 5 games that year. And it's a lot of it's just based on your talent and what you're able to get. But you're talking about working together. A couple of the best programs are from the D.C. area. Team Thrill. I don't know them as well, so I can't say yes or no what they do. Of course, they're more from Baltimore, but like Team Takeover, I think that's one of the most people say that's probably the most best program top to bottom. Them and Thrill. Well, Takeover, the guy that runs their program, Keith Stevens, he is friends. They have the WCAC, which is like, what is it, 8 or 10 schools?
Our boy coached in that, Corey Heights, with
they're 8 or 10
Gonzaga.
schools,
it's unbelievable.
Shout out to Corey.
Yeah.
He's close with all the high school coaches in that league, and and he'll kind of spread his players out too, encourage them. All right, you go to DeMatha, you go to Gonzaga Prep, you go to John Paul, he'll kind of do that. But he's kind of cool with all the, I think it's 8 teams in that league. He kind of cool with all of them in there, and but they all help him too. Of course, they know at the end of the day he has a lot of it. But I mean, when it comes to recruiting, AAU is. That's what it comes down to a lot. And, I used to joke with people, but I'll say about Keith Stevens, all them high school coaches power, but, he's getting more money for basketball than any of them else. I used to joke with people, again, thanks to Coach Carlos for letting me put everything in my name, but I used to joke with people, man, there's only 2 people in Kentucky that got a Nike contract for basketball. That's John Calipari and myself. Nobody else has got their name on a Nike contract besides us 2. So, it is the AAU game, I mean, it's powerful. That's for sure. I kind of learned that the more I got with the Nike side of it and the higher. I thought with Derby State I was doing pretty good, but then you see a whole different level of it when you go with these national programs and so forth.
But King, you and I deal with this all the time, talk about this all the time. The travel basketball world, more so than high school, is the true Wild West. In high school, if you change schools, there's rules to where are you going to be eligible immediately? Are you going to have to sit out for a semester or a year or whatnot? There's just this structure and rules and different things in place. Travel ball, none of that, right? And so that's like our job is to actually try to be respected enough to put together events that do have rules, that do have structure, that have enforcement, that have consequences. That's what we do. But it's the Wild West. I've seen kids change AAU teams mid-weekend.
Yeah,
I've seen
always a classic.
Always a classic. There's so many things that go on, and I think that makes people who are used to being on the more structured side, which is high school. I think that either turns them off a little bit, and it makes them nervous because they're jumping from structure where they're established. Man, that's the coach. He's been the coach there for 10 years in that small town. He's the guy. You walk into an AAU gym, no matter if you've coached high school for 30 years, you're only as valuable, or people only care about you if you can do something for them and add value. They don't care how long you've been coaching, good old guy. They just don't care about that, and it makes a lot of people nervous.
You might see, you saying they switch teams weekend. I mean, you might see a kid play 7th grade with this team. He's playing 8th grade on this team.
Facts.
I mean, it's this. That's the only thing that I don't really like about the AAU anymore, or the way it's get. It's like we host these events. Well, And a lot of it comes back to ranking the teams. So, this team, oh, man, you ain't playing this weekend. Come play with our team. And, we're trying to get that national ranking and stuff. And, so I don't like that. And, I think another thing that really bothers me is all these kids that transfer in college. I think it goes back to AAU.
Agree.
But it bothers me where I think it's just started the last couple years where the kids transfer. Or they might transfer. They have all the time and say, all right, I'm going to this school. But now you see a kid transfer, and he's putting out a top 10 list from transferring from one school. Now he's putting out a top 10, like the kid from Purdue. I think he had a top 10 the other day.
But you know what? I don't know how I feel about that because a coach can, all right, I got another job. I'm going to go ahead and go here.
Yeah.
Where a kid is stuck, and that school has to let him out of his commitment. Now, it seems like the NCAA is coming around to loosen up some of those rules, which inflated the portal. But I don't really know how I feel about that way. I don't think the coach should be able to, come in, make some mistakes, get the kids in trouble on probation. Hey, I got another job. Forget y'all.
That,
you see what I'm saying?
But I think I see that, and then I just think it's going to be like almost like AAU where even if the coach don't change. I mean, AAU, it's a lot of pleasing
But
players.
what's wrong
If
with
you
that,
want the
though?
best player, well, which part?
About the transferring thing immediately, for whatever
Well,
reason.
I think that's just an opinion. I was just saying more. It bothers me. I don't, if a kid wants to transfer, they transfer better fit. I just don't understand. All right, now I got a new top 10. This is my top
that is
10.
funny.
It's for the, it's more just look at me. I
Right.
left this program. Now I'm going here. Now it's all that again. That's the part I don't really like. But when you go with this transfer, it's gonna be like, hey, if they don't have to sit out, well, if a coach makes them mad, it's like you almost have to cater to every kid. If not, then I can leave and go somewhere else. And it's just like, hey, if I wasn't happy with you this weekend, I'm going to play with this team, or I'm going to try this team out, and it's just going to be,
But
it's
it
just going to
doesn't
be something to get
typically-
used to.
But a lot of times that stuff, like, it doesn't work out for the kid that's doing that.
No.
Okay, so like you are gonna have that anyways. But at some point, will people wake up and understand that college coaches ask whoever, this kid's been on 6 different AAU teams in 3 seasons. They notice that.
Right.
They notice that. And if you transfer, let's say you're a freshman in college, you transfer after your freshman year, then you want to transfer after your junior year. How many colleges do you think will be lined up for that kid? Because you're thinking, why? Are you mentally tough? Can you handle criticism? Are you disciplined? And so I think that opening it up, at first, it'll be Wild Wild West again, everybody doing it. But then over time, we bring it back together. This is not a fix overnight, but you set the standards, and then we figure out how the best ways to do it. But you're always going to have knuckleheads, always. And so to change the rules for everybody because of a couple knuckleheads, this doesn't seem, if it's not, I think we're all here pro transfer,
for sure,
right? For whatever reason, but
and I think it's kind of a similar situation that we see all the time where the negative outweighs the positive all the time, even to the standpoint of, whether it's the ranking the kids too early or even just how more traditionally AAU travel basketball gets a bad rap based on, one incident that might happen, in a calendar year.
Yes.
And I think this is a good segue. And I want everybody's input on this. Some of the craziest situations that we've seen just in this business, isolated, of course. But again, we say all the time, we want to have the best atmospheres for, these young players in basketball. And again, there's always those moments where we want everybody's toes up to the line, everybody out of their seat, toes right to the edge of the court, but we don't want anybody to step over across the line. What are some of the best moments, craziest stories, not necessarily all negative, but just kind of really show the atmosphere and the importance and the value of, everything we've been able to build?
Just, two of the best atmospheres I've been in was with coach with We All Can Go. Just went to, one of them was Atlantic City, the B-ball spotlight. It was 8th grade, and that was my first. No, I take it back. We went to Houston or New Orleans for the John Lucas All-Star Weekend tournament. That was my first time ever with We All Can Go, and just seeing that event down there and the type of players. You're seeing 8th graders that would be top 5 players in the state in Kentucky. Just wasn't used to seeing them type of players.
Yeah, we did the made hoop cams last fall.
Yeah.
We saw,
Oh.
you know,
Rims rims had to be reinforced.
Eighth graders average height 6'7",
Oh.
6'8". It's different out there.
But the trash talking among teams, like you said, it's fun. It can get borderline, and everybody should know, you know, we're doing this in the game, and after the game it's over. But some people just take it personal, you know. And again, it seems like it's parents more than not. But at Atlantic City, we were playing 8th grade. We was playing Team Izod, and it's just the atmosphere in there. I mean, you couldn't even get in the gym. It was Marvin Bagley versus Nazi Reed. Javon Quinterly was over there. We had Tiger Campbell, Darius Garland. That was one. And then same year with Tiger, but he was actually playing his grade. We was at the AAU Nationals. They actually, in Memphis, I think it was, they actually had to shut the gym down because too many people were in there. We were playing All Ohio Red. And, you know, I remember we hit a shot we tied it to go to overtime. And I was helping Carlos coach that game. He was the head coach. Well, the whole time, you know, the gym's packed, and he lived for that stuff. The whole time, I'm having to talk to the kids going into overtime because we had a shot to go, and he's out on the court celebrating, waving the towel, getting the crowd up and everything. So, you know, just atmospheres like that. Yeah, I mean, you know, we was in Akron one time in a back gym, going back to Sean Kell Night Golf. He took off on the baseline and dunked 8th grader right-handed on Cole Anthony, which Cole Anthony wasn't what he is now. And, you know, Greg Anthony in the gym, I mean, he stands up and claps and applauds. But then I've also been keeping the score in the gym where you got stands behind me. You can look it up on YouTube. Across the way, it's set up kind of like this, where it's all media. Well, I got my 2 little kids over there. They're probably 8 and 4 at this time, right? Running around. All of a sudden, you see something start to break loose. I'm looking over. I'm walking upstairs. I make eye contact. I mean, you got people out there hitting people with chairs, steel chairs,
Tables.
Yeah, I mean, it was like WWE in there. Police had to come up there. A guy driving his own Escalade, trying to drive it through the school doors to get back in to fight more. I mean, it was stuff like that. I mean, you know, you see the good and the bad on both sides of it for sure. But
yeah.
Now, when we talk about atmosphere, we're just talking about the excitement in
yeah,
the game.
that's what I'm talking about. The more
we're
there.
not talking about driving
No.
Escalade.
I mean,
wait, that's a great example. That's a great
picture.
example, though, of how things can get out of hand. When Marcellus is saying our motto is we want everybody's toes on the line, but we don't want anybody to cross the
And
line.
the thing about
If
that
you
whole,
don't have a strong presence there, if you do not have a strong presence that people respect, they won't just barely tiptoe over the line. They will
it's out of
sprint
hand,
past
yeah.
the line.
oh, well, that whole thing there, and it really, you know, because it's on TMZ. Well, Master P had a team playing in the game. Yeah, he was playing, and he'd already like I said, I'm keeping the clock. Well, he's already telling this guy, man, after this game, we're going out the back. Get the van out the back. We're going out the back. Well, the game didn't get to there. About 40 seconds left. But his team, it wasn't even his fans involved in the fight. But, you know, TMZ puts it on there. Master P's team in this game and stuff like that. So it's just, you know, I've seen a few of the fights break out there, and then, you know, you don't ever want to see it happen, obviously. But
I got a positive spin on.
But I think, like I said, a lot of it, the atmosphere, it's fun. Just a lot of that stuff's good. It's just a lot of it is it can get negative pretty quick.
I got a positive spin on atmosphere. That first President's Day tournament that we did here,
2019.
Yeah,
that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
That atmosphere, the people, even if someone got upset about a call or, you know, whatever, because most of the time, more times than not, they upset about a call. Even so, the energy and the music and stuff was just drowning those emotions out, and everybody was still vibing and having a great time, man.
Yeah, it's cool how even just the couple years that we've been doing these tournaments, how it's kind of grown where who were the 2 teams last time with the grown adult mascots?
Oh, yeah. The St. Louis Knights.
I love that.
I don't remember.
I'm sorry. We put out all types of videos on those guys.
Maybe Joe Johnson Hawks.
That's who it was.
That's
It
who
was
it
both
was.
those guys. But so Joe Johnson Hawks had an adult, maybe one of the dads on the team or whatever, that would kind of dress up a little bit, and he had these different props. And it's a one of a kind. Like I've never really seen something like that. And then what are the odds that the other team that they're playing against has the exact same thing? And in the middle, they started doing a push-up contest, a dance-off. But it's real positive what you're talking about.
That's
King.
positive.
That's the positive.
Both teams were, they having fun with it. But they, both of them want their teams to win.
Of course.
But, I think St. Louis is ranked number 1 right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, both teams want them to win. But it was fun more like that.
That's the healthy way. That's the best version.
And
that's the best version of this basketball.
If you're listening out there and you ain't been to an event at the KBC, and I ain't, if it ain't, it could be a coast-to-coast event. I mean, I know they do events with Next Up Recruits, The Journey, but you get all of it here, because we host tournaments different places, or I've been to tournaments all over the country. You got some places that might do interviews. But this place here, you got the music, the atmosphere, you got the hype man, JK on the mic. You got the food. But I mean, you got the pictures, you got your own media room. Just the first, everything, it's all right here. When you leave a tournament here, and it's even when I bring little kids up here from my school, just a normal KBC event. When you leave an event up here, it's, you were actually at a. First, there's nothing that you didn't get at that event.
Yeah,
everything's covered all in one.
It's not
Appreciate
about
that, Breeze.
Yeah, much love.
Yeah,
and it's not about us.
No.
Four.
Yeah.
It's about the babies. It's about the
it's
kids.
about
That's
GB.
what I'm saying. I'm not even saying a coast to coast
It's
event. I'm
about
talking
GB.
about
It's about GB.
I'm talking about just the normal, even your normal little kids tournaments
Right.
for school teams. Just when you come up here, like some of the best events there is the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade state tournaments. But when you leave here, you don't leave. You got everything covered. You didn't miss out on, I got to go to Atlantic City this weekend to get this. I got to go here to get that. You come here, you get all of it.
And that's one reason.
Appreciate that, Breeze.
Even us starting this podcast and really just trying to dive in and pass the information along to everybody, man, we try to do it in such a way that you have everything you need in one place to where, we're all Kentucky guys. We want to make it to where, there's no excuses on the table. You come here, you work hard, you take care of your business, you make the grades. We'll handle the rest.
Yeah.
As far as providing you a platform, you got, again, elementary to middle school, one of the biggest scouting services in the country.
Yeah.
You'll get there, big events, whether it's middle school, state tournament, or whatever, but being able to have, this in your backyard, we understand the importance of it, and that's why, we do what we do, and it is always gratifying to hear those success stories and see that love, whether it's social media, people calling, even now during this time, everybody itching at the bit to lace the shoes back up and hop on the court. So, that is really gratifying to see during this time.
Yeah, it's cool. On any given day, Marcellus might be dealing with a 2nd grade girl that's trying to learn how to dribble the basketball, like my daughter. And an hour later, he's telling me about the conversation he had with the conference player of the year trying to decide what agent, they're going to decide and giving that type of advice. And so that is what we try to do. We try to do something for everybody. We can genuinely help everybody. But one thing that Breeze mentioned, going to Atlantic City, going to New Orleans, for years, and I think this is my 8th or 9th year, I don't know, but involved in the travel basketball school, but just involved in the event side of things. And always it was like, I'll put you on the schedule, but I've got to go to boom, 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 boom. And the Kentucky teams have had to always travel outside to play the big-time teams. And so whereas now – we're bringing them here, and it's like it's a little bit of an adjustment because teams in their mind are like, well, I have to leave Kentucky, right? I have to leave, but actually we're bringing everything that you need to Lexington to where you don't have to worry about flights, all the gas money, all the extra stuff. It's just right here. So appreciate you saying that, Breeze, but you're a huge part of that as well for us.
Exactly.
It's all family, and plus you and King, I feel blessed to be able to have jumped in 2018 to start to help. But you guys have been doing the Midwest Spotlight for a while, which is that's one of the biggest camps in the country. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
That's huge.
And just to kind of bring it full circle again, which I feel like we say every single episode, we hopped on in an earlier episode and just kind of talked about how this KBC thing, Camp One thing, just kind of came together. And, we're talking about all this. And Breeze is right there in the mix with Coast to Coast Prep. So.
I didn't know King knew Breeze.
Exactly. So
I had no idea.
This is again just coming 360 and summer plans. We talk about the Midwest Spotlight.
Yeah.
Coast to Coast Camp One. what are you guys cooking up this summer? Just for our listeners to kind of look out for. I know we can't put actual dates on it this year, or
Keeping our ear
not
to the
yet.
ground.
But what can we expect?
I mean, just like, we hopefully, we do the Memorial Day tournament that we have on the schedule
Balling in the
here.
bluegrass.
Yeah,
185 teams last year.
and
185.
hopefully we can do that again this year. Then, like I said, we're going to try to do the Midwest Spotlight. Don't know the date on that. Then we've talked about possibly, pending when
Final
this
run.
stuff gets going, maybe doing like at the end of June, maybe a kickoff to going into July for all your teams going to nationals and stuff. Just we're just kind of we talked about a lot of stuff, and I'm sure everybody else has too. But just basically, you're just waiting to see what's going to happen with everything.
I guess we'll just go ahead and break it down, King. And I'm sorry if I'm sharing too much. All right, but
No,
frankly, we follow this probably too closely for our own sanity. I'm following everything. We're all following things to understand when we may be able to get back to business as usual. We've got a tentative schedule based on any number of scenarios that may happen, whether it's this week or 6 weeks from now or however long it is. We've got schedules ready to go. We're just waiting on something, to where we're not being irresponsible. We don't want to tell people we're hosting this Memorial Day tournament, even though it may be possible. That for them to plan on it, maybe book hotel rooms. We just want to be responsible for all that stuff,
So
No, and I mean, in addition to here, I do a couple more. We always do one in Nashville, but I mean that's kind of the same thing. Some people are signing up wanting to pay. I'm like, just hold off on paying. We'll take your name, but they no need in paying and losing money on PayPal registrations or whatever. Having to refund money. So it's just kind of something that nobody's ever seen before going through something like this. So. Hopefully we don't ever see it again once we get through it.
Yeah,
And-
stay tuned with us though. We'll keep you posted on all the dates coming up. We'll drop everything once we get the thumbs up.
And Breeze, before we get out of here, how can everybody contact you? I know they might have questions, might want to check out your stuff on Coast to Coast Preps. Where can we find you?
coasttocoastpreps.com is the website. The easiest way to contact is, like you said, either on Instagram on the direct message, or it's hard if you tag me in something on there. It's hard for us to see it. There's probably 60 or 70 tags a day. It's hard to keep up with the tags. And then emails just coasttocoastpreps@gmail.com.
The number 2, not T.
Yeah.
The
The number two.
But again, thanks for joining us one more time. Coach Breeze with us. Another episode of the KBC Hoops Podcast. Check this out on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and I promise you we're getting everything set up for Apple Podcasts real soon. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon. Another episode of the KBC Hoops Podcast.